Okay, now today our focus is also on narrative tense. Okay, using narrative tense. Now, why do we say narrative tense? Because when we are narrating a story, when we're telling a story, we can be our own narrator. We can also be someone else's story's narrator. Okay, whether or not we are narrating our own story, which is like a personal recount, or whether or not we are narrating someone else's story, okay, generally the narrative tense that we use are always past tense. But past tense, there are a few types as well. We have our past perfect tense, past continuous tense, past perfect continuous tense, and of course your simple past tense. Okay, so we are going to identify all these different narrative tense because even in oral exam, most of the time you are using narrative tenses to respond to the questions that your examiner asked. Okay. Okay, I think class rules I don't really have to go through anymore. We were just talking about it just now. Okay, so what are narrative tenses? So basically narrative tenses are verb tenses that you use when you tell a story that happened in the past. Now, like I said just now, when it comes to a story, it can be your own story or it can be others. So it's your own story, it's like a personal recount. And remember, I think personal recount, the main verb to use is always past tense verb, unless you're writing like a dialogue or something. Okay, basically other people's story, it can be descriptive. It can be just a narrative, a simple narrative of other people's story. Okay? So these tenses are typically used to talk about historical events. Makes sense because historical, as the name suggests, it means in the history. So it's in the past. So if it's something in the past, something that has happened in the past, we always use past tense, right? Past narrative tenses. It can be recent actions, but it has happened. Okay, so recent actions, recent events that has happened. Biographical. When is a biography? What is a biography?
Is it like to tell some source or something?
Okay, a biography is a life story of a person, usually a famous person.
Oh wait, I forgot that was bibliograph. Sorry.
Yes, bibliography. Yeah, correct. Okay, so basically all these actually you can find them in textbooks, history textbooks, even biography. I think sometimes they might have a short excerpt in textbooks as well. It's like, introducing, I don't know, Sir Stamford Raffles. So it's a short biography of Stamford Raffles. So you can find them in stories, of course, and you can also find them in spoken accounts. Okay, all these past tense verbs can be found in spoken accounts as well. Okay, if you were to hear, like, I'm not sure how often, I think nowadays students seldom listen to like radio, do they? I mean, unless you're on a car. Do you listen to radios?
No, it's
Not
just
anymore.
it's underrated.
That's right. Actually, it is underrated. I do agree. Yeah. Sometimes I think we should listen to radios more. Okay. And a lot of times radios those radio DJs, um they do have a lot of recounts, and when they speak, they also speak in narrative tenses as well when they're recalling something else. But of course, I think nowadays a lot of people listen to podcasts as well. Okay, but podcast is different because podcast is a bit more informative. So usually podcast gives you a lot of information about a particular topic or something. Okay. And of course, we listen to YouTube videos. I mean, we watch YouTube videos and of course, listen to the content. So sometimes spoken accounts on YouTube, of course, it also does use narrative tenses. Okay. Depending on what type of text. Someone typed something. Let me see. Oh, no, it was the previous message. Okay. Now let's move on. So as I mentioned, there are 4 types of narrative tense. We have your past simple, or sometimes we call it simple past. Simple past is, I think, the majority of it, you can find it in personal recounts. Okay. But there are some times when we are recounting something, we actually also use past continuous. Okay. So it's like was singing, was dancing. Okay. So that's past continuous. Now, past perfect. Okay. Past perfect is when it happened at that point in time in the past. It has already happened. Okay, but it's in the past, in the story. Okay, oh, there's a typo error here. This one is not past perfect, yeah? It's past perfect. Okay, past perfect continuous means it has happened, but continuously during the period of the story. Okay, but it's in the past. Yeah, so that's past perfect continuous. So later on, we are going to have some examples inside. Okay, so past simple, for example, the past simple tense is used to talk about a certain action or an event that took place at a specific point in the past. Okay, so this one, it's a specific point in the past. So there's no ongoing. Okay, it's basically, okay, this is the storyline. This is the plot of the story. It just happens here. That there and then. Okay, so it's simple past. And I think this is the majority of the tenses that we use for narrative. So some examples, I visited Italy. So if I'm telling you a story, I say I visited Italy last summer. Basically, yes, this part. I visited it. There and then it happened. Okay. Mom cooked lasagna for dinner. So same thing. Mom cooked it for dinner. It happened then. Okay. I did not go to school. Actually, did is the past tense, is the simple past tense. It's not didn't. It's did not. So what is not then? Not is actually considered an adverb because an adverb tells you a bit about the verb. So what did she do? She did not actually. So this one is an adverb. Okay. So the word did is actually a past tense verb. It's a simple past tense verb. Yeah. Okay. Last year I went irregular verbs, also past tense. It's an irregular past tense verb. I went to Korea. Okay. And the last one, I think it's missing a full stop. I watched a movie yesterday with Kelly. So that's also in simple past tense. Are we okay with simple past tense?
Yep.
Yep. Okay, not too difficult. Let's move on. Okay. I'm sure you have learned all this in primary school, but it's just to really just emphasize a bit more. Okay, so you might be just, it's a recap and you might be more aware. Okay, now in terms of past continuous tense, it's talking about an action or event that was in progress but in the past. Okay, so same thing, maybe I just want to help you visualize. This is my plot of my story. So this thing happened and it went ongoing for a while. Then it stopped. Okay. So it's not at that point in time only. It's basically in progress for a while. So I was cooking dinner when Chris called. So I was cooking. Then Chris called. Right? So this part here says that it's in progress at a specific point in the past. So I think continuous tense are quite easy to understand as well. I was cooking. It was raining yesterday. Kelly was studying English last night. The students were running in the classroom. We were eating sushi in the restaurant. Okay. So basically happened, right? And then it stopped somewhere. Okay, what about past perfect? Okay, past perfect tense is something that is completed done and dusted before a certain point in the past. Okay, so that means this is my plot. This part, when I use the perfect tense, like for example, had departed. Okay, that means the train, before I even say out my story, actually it happened here. I'm just trying to recall what has happened. So the train had departed by the time I got to the station. Before literally you got to the station, the train had already departed actually before my story. So it happened, it was already completed before a certain point in my story, in my plot. Okay, so past perfect tense examples. The train had departed by the time I got to the station. After Kelly had finished her homework, she played tennis. I had known about it for quite a while. So maybe it's something that the writer knows about. And it was actually, it has been completed. He had known about it long ago. And at that point in time, when you were talking about it in your story, in your plot, you're trying to just tell the reader that I had known it already, right? It's in the past. Yeah. I had just eaten a whole pizza, so I wasn't hungry. Mom had gone to work when I arrived home. So it happened before the story in your plot. Okay. Now, what about the last one? The past perfect continuous is about an event or action that was happening in the past, yet it continued up until a certain point. So basically, this is the plot again. When I use the past perfect continuous tense here, okay, for example, had been leaving. Okay, I am again recalling something that has happened in the past, but it happened over a period of time. So what I'm saying here is that I am actually recalling what had happened last time. So I had been living in Italy here for a period of time. So it's not just there and then and completed. It's basically over a span of time, but it has happened in the past. Okay, so here are some examples of past perfect continuous tense. I had been living. Okay, I had been living in Italy for 5 years when I decided to move back home. Okay, Kelly had been exercising. So before we talk about her injury, right, she had been exercising every day. So it has been ongoing, right? She had been exercising. Excuse me. Okay. My father had been working. Okay. Had been working at the same company since 1995. Chris had been studying hard for 3 hours before he fell asleep. Craig was very tired. He had been running. Okay. So past perfect. Past means it has to be had. Past tense. Perfect, been, then continuous has your ing in it. Past perfect continuous tense. Okay, now we're going to have a short activity. I would like you to speak up, but I will not be involved because then I give you a bit of space to do that. So what I want you to do is each of you're supposed to prepare a list of questions. Okay, so what kind of questions should you be preparing? You are actually going to use these questions to strike a conversation with your friends here. I'm going to put you into breakout room later. But since there are only 3 of you will be in the same room. Okay, so I give you a bit of space to mingle and to have a conversation. Then later on, when you come back to the main room, that's when you will share your responses. Okay, so 5 questions, but the criteria is this: you are supposed to be able to get responses from your classmates here